Likely spent countless hours trying and researching and planning different diets, detoxes, supplements, etc., to help your child with their struggles. And oftentimes it can feel really overwhelming, especially when your child struggles with something like autism, ADHD, allergies, epilepsy, and so much more. These are chronic health challenges that can really feel overwhelming, and it can be really difficult to understand where to go to try to find solutions. Especially when oftentimes everything seems to label that as the solution to the problem. But what if I said that actually all of these solutions may be contributing potentially to the problem? Well, I'm not saying that diet changes are bad, and I'm not saying that supplements are bad, but oftentimes by the time people end up in our office, they've tried countless different diets, countless different supplements, therapies, etc., and often are left with the same struggles. Now, the good thing is that there is hope and there is answers, but it really starts with understanding the foundation. And so, what do I mean when I say the foundation? Well, the foundation that I'm talking about is a pyramid. And the pyramid starts at the basic level with the central nervous system and then goes up, and the top of the pyramid is high level executive functioning. And so, what happens is and in the middle of the pyramid is gut. So we have the nervous system, and then we have motor, and we have movement, we have the gut, immune system, and then we have high level processing. And so what happens is we're coming in with these changes higher up in the pyramid. And I wish I had a picture of a pyramid, but maybe I can share it. So if you follow me on social media, I'm going to share a picture of the pyramid. Um, and I'll do a short video on the pyramid, because what's happening is we're coming in higher up on the pyramid when the foundation itself is not stabilized. And so what I mean is that the central nervous system or nervous system regulation is the foundation. And when we stabilize the foundation and we take care of that, that's what we call the root cause. And so when we stabilize that foundation, we can change different things on up the pyramid, like potentially acknowledging different food allergies, or other things, or even that's where OT or speech therapy or PT comes in on motor and movement milestones. And so there are all these benefits. And so not saying that those things don't have benefits, but what happens is we're trying all of these things and often overwhelming the system and then creating more stress from how many things we're trying to put onto the system, well, we're ignoring the foundation. And so it's important that we start with the foundation. So that's where we come up with this perfect storm concept. And so the perfect storm acknowledges where the foundation may be shifted or dysregulated, why the foundation may be dysregulated in kids, and especially infants, because what kind of stress are they experiencing? Well, we know that the perfect storm is a combination of physical stress, mental and emotional stress, and environmental stress. And so, first off, we have to talk about maternal, mental, and emotional stress in utero. We know mom's hormones like cortisol can cross the placenta, impacting babies' stress levels. We also know that kids have mirror neurons and mirror the stress or the dysregulation of parents. And so we have to recognize that role in kids. So while we may not think our kids have very stressful lives, we may think what can contribute to their stress. Oftentimes, that's when we have to look at the other factors in their life. One of the biggest indicators that research shows for developing adult anxiety or even childhood anxiety is a home that is hurried or an environment that is hurried or rushed, as a big contributor to something that creates anxiety. And so, just knowing that levels of maternal stress during pregnancy, especially if there's a high risk pregnancy, especially if there's a lot going on, maybe if there's also a move and a job change, etc., that impacts baby. And not that any of your child's struggles are at all your fault or a result of the things that or the challenges that you faced, because of course You were only just doing the best you can. But it's one of the factors we take into consideration when looking to see how much stress or tension does baby have in their body. So that's mental and emotional stress. And then the other thing is physical stress. So, where would baby or kids get physical stress? And physical stress specifically comes from the birth process. We know that birth is not only traumatic on mom, but also on baby. It is a very natural, normal process, but it is physically demanding. And in a world, in a society like ours today, we're seeing 35 plus percentage of pregnancy or of births are C-sections. And we know that it really is not that every C-section that's happening is a medical emergency or medically necessary. And so that directly impacts baby because C-sections place more physical demands on baby because we're pulling baby out by their head and their neck. There's also more interventions like forceps or vacuum, etc. And we know that we're inducing at very high rates, and that is going to increase the intensity of contractions, especially with things like Pitocin. Ultimately, our goal is always a happy, healthy baby, and there are times where these things are necessary, and we're glad that we have medical advancements to make these possible. But the more interventions and the more significant interventions, also, we cannot ignore the role that they're playing when we're looking for physical stress in baby. One of the most common things that we see in babies is infant torticollis. Now, infant torticollis is when their head is stuck to one side and they have decreased range of motion, turning side to side. When that's not addressed early on, it can lead to head shape issues on the affected side, etc. But that is to say, one of the number one things we see is we're seeing head or we're seeing neck and shoulder tension. And that's because we're pulling baby out by their head and their neck. And not that that's even in a traditional vaginal delivery, they're being pulled out by their head and the neck. But when we're adding something like forceps or vacuum, that intensity has increased. And so, not that baby can't handle that stress, but how have we increased that to put more demand onto baby's body? So this is why we have to focus on these because we're often so quick to look at the environmental factors. And the environmental factors would be like a detox, or it would be diet or supplements, etc., because this contributes to our overall toxic load. And while that is very important, and we do want to focus on decreasing our toxic load, the stress has been there much earlier than the food allergy or the diet or the detox or etc. And so that's why we've already shifted baby into this stress dominant state. And then you add in the fact that our environment is filled with toxins. And so we already have this stress dominance. And then we add in all these other things, and that just culminates into what is considered the perfect storm. And so we already know these things are happening, and then ultimately we are adding, then increasing the toxic load, whether that be through medications or vaccines or food or etc. And things that oftentimes aren't inherently bad, but we're really saying it's about the amount. It's about the fact that we are constantly exposed to all of these things everywhere in our environment, and how can we be mindful to decrease that exposure? So, what we're talking about with this stress dominance is we're talking about the nervous system dysregulation or the sympathetic dominance. So, if our nervous system has two sides. It has a sympathetic side, which we call the gas pedal. It has a parasympathetic side, which we call the brake pedal. And all of these things push the gas pedal. So maternal, mental, and emotional stress would push the gas pedal. High risk pregnancy, we push the gas pedal. High risk pregnancy, therefore we induce at 37 weeks because we're worried. So then we induce with Pitocin and increase the intensity of contractions, gas pedal. And then potentially, labor stalls and turns into a C-section, gas pedal. And then baby's out in this world and functioning, and then is exposed to different environmental toxins, gas pedal. So it's just the fact that we're always pushing this gas pedal and we're not pushing the brake pedal. And so that is shifting their bodies into this stress state, which is fight or flight. And there's a quote that by Bruce Lipton that says, "You can't be in growth and development and survival at the same time." And so, in a time of their life where 80% of neurological development happens in the first 2 years, we keep on pushing the gas pedal. And we're pushing the gas pedal and pushing the gas pedal. And so baby is in this fight or flight or survival when optimal growth and development happens in resting and digesting. And so that's where we come in and we talk about the nervous system regulation piece, because that's the foundation of the whole pyramid. If baby is stuck on the gas pedal, digestion is going to be bad because we're not in rest and digest. Our body isn't allocating resources to the gut because it's trying to survive. Because when we're pushing and we're running from a tiger or a bear, we're not going to be digesting. That's why it's common for people to digest overnight or when you're relaxing, etc. Because relaxation is resting and digesting. And so it may not be necessarily a food sensitivity, maybe the fact that baby's body is stuck in stress, and therefore we're seeing constipation or gas or straining, etc. And so we need to focus on this foundation. And so once we can regulate the body, we can push the brake pedal and we can implement other things. And maybe it is a food sensitivity, or maybe it is, various different things, or even PT, OT, or speech, all which are so valuable. If we can get baby out of the stress state into growth and development, they're going to perform better at all of these therapies. And so all of these things have value, but what the problem is when we look at it in the wrong order. And so we want to make sure we regulate the foundation, and the foundation is the central nervous system. And then from there, there are other things we can shift. But if we're coming in with the detox, or we're coming in with the diet, or coming in with the supplement, or even the therapy, but we're not regulating the nervous system, then we're coming in at the wrong order. And so that's why it's so important for us to check to see if baby's nervous system is regulated and to balance baby out. And that's why it's so cool, because as a pediatric chiropractor, I get to come alongside so many different kiddos and so many different infants and so many different adults, because it's the foundation. What we're talking about is the foundation. And then you get to go and function and thrive in all of these other areas because we've hit the foundation. And so I get to see so many cool things and so many different cases and so many different struggles. And then we get to see them succeed when they've oftentimes been struggling for a very long time to see progress or to see results. So if you or your child has been struggling with any kind of difficulties, you can go ahead, come into our office at Sunlife Chiropractic. We're going to get you scanned. We're going to see how your nervous system is doing. We always talk about the scans on these videos because the scans are so important, because it gives us a measure for us to quantify where your body's at. It's not just a one-size-fits-all approach. We want to see where your body's at, where your symptoms are at, and where what we're finding on the table from a chiropractic perspective, so that we can tailor our approach to you. And so that's what's so cool about having the scans, for us to truly be able to quantify that. So come on in, see where you're at, see where your child's at. I will say one more thing just because it popped up into my mind, but going back to the stress and the relaxation, oftentimes our routines for health contribute more to the stress bucket. And so make sure, I can leave you with one thought, make sure that what you're doing for your health is not just adding to the to-do list or making it feel like you have one more thing to do or to accomplish, or that you have all of these things you have to meet, because that too is sometimes our health regimen can actually create dysregulation. So if that resonates with you, I love that. I hope you take that. I hope that means something to you, and I look forward to seeing you at Sunlife Chiropractic to get you scanned.